4-Hers, are you ready to go bananas? Well, I'm Liz Taylor, the 4-H educator from Grady County, and today I'd like to share with you a banana nut recipe that my family is crazy for. But before you start any project in the kitchen, make sure you check with the adults in your household. You also need to make sure that you've washed your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap and water. And of course, you have to clean up after yourself. I've gotten all my ingredients, so let's get started. The ingredients that you're going to need are 1 cup of sugar and 1/2 cup of shortening, 2 cups of flour, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of baking soda, 3 mashed bananas, 2 eggs, and 3 tablespoons of sour milk. And if you want nuts in yours, 1/2 cup of chopped nuts. I like pecans in mine the best, but you can try other nuts. Walnuts work well too. So let's get started. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to put your sugar and your shortening in a bowl and cream those together. Today we're going to be using the muffin method. I like creaming together with a fork, but you can also use a pastry blender, or you can actually use a mixer. The muffin method is adding your wet ingredients together and mixing them together, and then taking your dry ingredients and mixing them together. Then you combine your wet and your dry ingredients to make your finished product. Most quick bread recipes, like this one, can also be used for muffins. And of course, muffins are one of those fair entries that beginning 4-H members can make. One of those things I tell my 4-Hers is that when you are baking for the fair, look at all the things that you can bake, also in your open class division. I know in my county you can enter muffins, or you can also enter quick breads, and this recipe would make either. Once you have that creamed together pretty well, then you are going to add your 2 eggs. You know, when we talked about the muffin method, a lot of people don't realize it, but even though wet sugar is not really wet, but for the muffin method, it is considered a wet ingredient. Now that we have those 2 eggs incorporated in. If you're an older 4-Her, one of the food science projects that you can make is a recipe modification. One recipe modification that you can make is by substituting applesauce for half of your fat. I'm adding in my sour milk. Now you may wonder why you use sour milk. This recipe calls for baking soda to leaven it. You have to have a form of acid to help the baking soda do its job. So now I'm going to add my bananas. I have already mashed those. Bananas are a great fruit to have. They're readily available year-round. And you know, when they start to get brown spots on the outside, you can mash them and freeze the mashed bananas. You can wash the outside of the banana and freeze them with their skins on. So now that we have our wet ingredients mixed together, we're going to move to our dry ingredients. Our dry ingredients, I've already put my flour in. Well, that's going to be our salt and our baking soda. And you're going to mix these up. It's important that you get it well mixed up so that you don't have clumps of baking soda in your all together in one place. so that it will rise equally. Then we're going to incorporate our dry ingredients into our wet ingredients. And I'm going to do this. I always start off with about half of the flour mixture. That may be a little bit more than half, but it will work. I like mixing with a fork, but you can do it any way you like. You can also use a mixer for this. You want to go ahead and make sure that you get everything incorporated. Now we're going to go with the other half of the dry ingredient. Like I said earlier, you can you can use the same recipe for most muffins as you do quick breads. The big difference is you'll want to increase for muffins. You will want to decrease your temperature and cook just a little shorter time. With a quick bread, if you want to take a muffin recipe and make it a quick bread, then you will go and increase your temperature about 25 degrees on your oven, and you will also have to bake a little longer. Now that it's all mixed up, if you want to add nuts, you can. I'm going to add my nuts right now and gently fold those in. Nuts are a really good addition. It helps add a little bit of protein. It also gives us some healthy fats. And it does make your bread a little bit more interesting. Once your batter is all made, you're going to put it into a greased loaf pan and bake at 350 degrees for 35 to 45 minutes or until it's golden brown. You can also use muffin tins. Just lower your temperature and cook and bake for a little less time. After my bread baked for 45 minutes to an hour, it is time to put it, it's done, and we're going to put it on a cooling rack. You always want to rest your bread on a cooling rack so it doesn't build up moisture. Banana nut bread is a great recipe to use up those bananas that have gone a little bit further than what you want to eat, and it also freezes extremely well. I hope you enjoy this recipe, and I hope to see pictures of your banana nut bread in the comments.